It's the pinnacle of jet ski racing. World-renowned as one of the toughest, most grueling sporting events in the world. To race in it is the ultimate dream. It takes a toll on your body, your machine, and your mind. To win it places you in a select group of riders whom the whole world looks up to in awe. Karujet. 5 races, 4 days, 1 winner. The 17th Karujet World Jet Ski Championship got underway in the beautiful French Caribbean islands of Guadeloupe as 45,000 spectators gathered on the Plage de Villard in Petit-Bourg to watch some of the greatest riders in the world in what has become an iconic annual sporting festival for the island. Besides some of the most exciting racing in the world, the Karujet Destination Guadeloupe also featured 4 days and nights of partying, concerts, games, and fun in an electrifying festival atmosphere that draws young and old alike. Petit-Bourg has become a historic partner with Karujet, and this is our 17th year hosting the event. The city of Petit-Bourg puts all its energy and resources into the Karujet every year. The city and environs have garnered more than 30 million euros in investment. Every year we've hosted this World Championship, and we're very proud of hosting an organization like this. All our tourism potential and activities are utilized during the Karujet, and we'll again expect more than 30,000 people for the final day. Once again, I'd like to say how proud we are to be a part of this historic event for Guadeloupe. Guadeloupe is the perfect setting, a lush, verdant postcard paradise that offers a little bit of everything, from tropical forests and coconut palm trees to vast fields of wild and cultivated sugarcane, the island's most important crop. There are long white sandy beaches with turquoise Caribbean waters, contrasting with the deep blue waters of the wild Atlantic Ocean stretching out from the easternmost point of the main island. Guadeloupe has a vibrant young population of 500,000 people living in colorful cities that are lively day and night, and where the mix of colonial, French, Creole, African, and Indian cultures is evident in everything from the architecture to the food, the music, and lifestyle of the island and its people. Created by Jacques Boucher and Eric Paulin 17 years ago, the Guadeloupe Karujet is considered the toughest jet ski race in the world.
The Karujet is an animal that it's very, very hard to tame.
The conditions are very hard, the waves are very big, and I like it.
On one side, you have the Caribbean Sea. On the other, the Atlantic Ocean. The waves, swells, and currents are unpredictable and tough to read. There's strong winds, frequent rain, and tropical heat to deal with. The grueling circuit takes a toll on even the fittest, strongest riders over nearly 600 kilometers of racing that stretches over 4 days. It's the equivalent of the Paris-Dakar Rally on the water. This is not for the squeamish.
For win this race, the rider must have a very good physical condition and very good mechanic. It's important. I think it's 50-50 between the mechanic and the physical, and to the intelligence of the race. Ride slowly when the sea is very difficult, and it's a question of gestion of race. For win this race, it's important to have a good result for every race. The regularity is the key of this race.
Is to be very consistent each day. You have to finish, better than top 5, top 3 each day to keep it very tight, because the last day is really important. There's 2 races, and it's just, there's so many good pilots this year, and it's going to be a difficult race, but whoever wins at the end of this year is definitely an incredible pilot.
Under the auspices of the French Federation of Powerboating and the UIM, the Karujet Trophy Destination Guadeloupe once again drew some of the greatest riders in the world. They were the best riders of Guadeloupe, the likes of last year's Karujet winner Marc Forban, and Lucas Granger and Vincent Thomas, both of whom represented Guadeloupe last year at the Ruski Vladivostok, where they complained the sea wasn't rough enough.
Je m'appelle Vincent Thomas de la Guadeloupe. Je vais disputer
This is my
13e
13th year racing in the Karujet. I know these waters well. It's a very difficult race. Very long, with a lot of waves and a lot of wind. It's not an easy race. This year we have a lot of riders from the United States, France, and other parts of the Caribbean. It'll be a very difficult race. Also, local hero Vincent Caram and his teammate Frank Arnoux would vie for the Karujet title. Guadeloupe's biggest rival in the region, Martinique, was being represented by a bevy of talent. The toughest, fittest, and most focused of all being Hugo Fidelin. Against those formidable islanders were the Metropole Aces from France, a French fleet full of champions past and present. Leading the field was 2010 Karujet and 2013 Vladivostok Rallyjet champion Jean-Bruno Pastorello. 2009 UIM Aquabike World and Slalom champion and 2011 Karujet winner, the always ready and fit Teddy Pons. His buddy, a closed circuit maestro, the 2012 UIM Aquabike World Champion Francois Midori of Corsica, and the aggressive, no-nonsense Alexander Barret. This is my 5th year. I'm physically ready and well prepared. The machine is also ready and should be running well. We'll see soon.
On verra bien.
Challenging the mighty French were a hardy bunch of American riders led by 2004 Karujet champion Chris McCluggage, who also races on the Aquabike World Championship Tour in Ski Division GP1. He was joined by the talented and experienced Craig Warner, who has raced the Karujet for over a decade, and a newcomer, Eric Francis. These are tough conditions. Racers go at over 100 kilometers an hour through 2-meter waves and massive sea swells in all sorts of weather and water conditions. Their skis, machines, equipment, and training have to be perfectly prepped to suit the kinds of conditions you find off Guadeloupe.
So setup for this race is a lot different from closed course. We have a higher handlebar, and in closed course, typically the riders are sat down or they're very low. You know, when I ride on the closed course, I'm just pretty much hovering the seat or back like this. In the offshore race, we prefer a higher handlebar setup so we can stand up a little taller, because in the offshore race, being out here, the races and the conditions of the ocean are so much more intense than a regular race. So we're constantly moving on the ski, back, forward, and everything. And then also another thing that I want to point out is I have lifters here. These lifters actually are like a brake, like a rear brake a rider would use on a motocross bike. So for me, when I jump and catch air, I don't want to land like this. In the air, I'll brace my legs against it and pull up. So it'll lock my legs in so I can pull the back of the ski so I can actually travel further and not land like that. And then the seat also, you know, I have a sponsor, HydroTurf, who sent a seat here, and it's really important in these conditions because when you're moving back and forth and you want to hold on, like you kind of lock your knees in and to brace yourself, and you know, having a seat with traction helps out a lot. And last year I didn't have a seat here, and it really hurt me. So having the seat this year, I think it's going to be, you know, a lot of people have them, but it's going to be a little bit better of an advantage for me. So these are just a couple things that we do to the boats different from the closed course circuit to the offshore circuit.
On the first of the 4 days of racing, the Café Edouard leg, 2 laps, 60 kilometers. The shortest of the 5 races, but the toughest, because all the riders are fit, fresh and ready.
I think there is a lot of very good pilots. We are 10 pilots, we can win the race, I think. It's a way you can't win the race today, but you can lose it. So I think I want to finish the race at a good place today, but not so fast.
But the conditions on day 1 were rough, with strong winds and choppy seas. It was not going to be an easy ride. The 2014 Karujet is underway as the riders sprint to their machines and try and get an early advantage at the start. Francois Midori had a great start to the race, jumping ahead early. But as lap 1 progressed, he got into a long battle with local rider Lucas Granger. Granger got the better of Midori, bumping the Corsican ace down to second as they came around for lap 1. But the hero of the day was American Chris McCluggage, the 2004 Karujet champ. It's been 10 years since he won, and he is hungry for another win. But it all got off to a terrible start for him. From there on, he was on fire, weaving through the other riders, putting the pedal to the metal and getting right up there among the top 7 boats heading to the end of lap 1. In lap 2, the American went from strength to strength, getting into a duel with Midori, from which he emerged triumphant, finishing the race 3rd, with Midori settling for 4th place, just ahead of 2011 Karujet champ Teddy Pons, who had a consistent race, aiming to finish in or near the top 5. Last year's champion Mark Forban had a rough start to his Karujet title defense. He got off to a poor start and then was not able to make too much headway, getting caught in the middle of the pack, ending lap 1 in 17th position. Lap 2 didn't prove much better for him, and he had to make do with 16th place in race 1. He wasn't too happy about it all, but there was a lot of racing yet to come. 2010 Karujet and 2013 Ruski Rallyjet winner Jean-Bruno Pastorello wanted to take it easy in race 1, knowing there would be a lot of racing ahead against a lot of younger riders. But he was struggling at the back of the pack in 32nd spot after lap 1. He turned on the experience in lap 2, surging up into 6th place, getting a decent result on his first outing, although more was expected from the legendary rider. There was a truly epic battle between Fidlan and Midori as the two locked horns, trying to gain the advantage over each other for a top 3 finish. Ultimately, it was Fidlan who passed the experienced Midori. Fidlan was bested only by Granger as he ran up the field, leaving champions past and present in his wake to take a well-earned runner-up spot for race 1. The man of the day was Lucas Granger of Guadeloupe. He went powering through in lap 1, challenging Midori and eventually nabbing the lead, and he never looked back. A surprise result for race 1. The final results after the Café Edouard race 1. Granger, Fidlan, and McCluggage are the top 3, and they'll be getting bonus points in the general standings. Midori, Pons, Pastorello, and Vincent Karam all make a strong start, making up the top 7, with former champ David Weitlingon 8th.
En fait, ce matin, bon, cet après-midi, là, je suis parti. La machine,
It was the first race and I had a decent start, trying to hit the front until the all-shot. After the all-shot, my ski and I performed better and better. At Sainte-Marie, the conditions were very nice, not complicated at all. There wasn't a lot of wind and the waters were relatively smooth. I was progressing fast and well, going as hard as I could, but without overdoing it.
À la laisser dans l'eau au maximum pour qu'elle chauffe pas trop. Et puis au fur et à mesure.
My machine was very fast, very reliable, and very efficient. Race 1 was the shortest race of the event. I'm very happy to have made a good start, but it's going to get harder and harder as the days progress.
L'étape la plus courte, c'est un échauffement, une mise en jambe, je suis content. Et puis le plus du reste à faire quand même.
Day 2. Conditions worsened. Rain, winds, and rough seas. Riders prepared for what would be a long and excruciating race that would be almost 2.5 times as long as race 1. Former Rallyjet and Karujet champ Pastorello had his work cut out for him.
Je pense qu'aujourd'hui, ça a baissé.
I think the sea will be a bit calmer than it was this morning, but I still expect the conditions to be very difficult, and the race will be very long. It will really put the machine to the test, and I have to make sure I get to the buoy in a good position, negotiate the conditions well, and get a good result.
Faire le parcours comme il faut, arriver au bout, un bon ravitaillement, ça va être très très dur, je pense. La stratégie est un peu comme celle.
My strategy will be the same as yesterday. I'll try to aim for the top 5, to stay within a minute or a minute and a half of the leaders, and hope yesterday's top riders don't do as well today.
Leur performance d'hier.
Chris McCluggage wanted to repeat his top 3 finish the day before.
Just conditions today I think are a lot bigger than yesterday. So my idea today is to try to set a good pace off the start, not to be too aggressive because the race is double the length of yesterday. So, just kind of cruise, but try to keep a strong pace and try to remember that, like I said, we have double the amount of time. The conditions are bigger. It's important to finish every race, but finish every race in the front.
The race 2 Numérica course would be 1 lap from Viard to Saint-François and back, and then 2 shorter laps around the Viard circuit, a total of 140 kilometers. The start is given. Midori and Granger fast on their skis. A great start, but the important thing here is to finish. The field races out into the choppy waves, hitting up to 100 kilometers an hour, and there's a lot of racing ahead. Former Karujet champion Davy Weitlingon led the pack early on. He was supplanted soon after by defending champ Marc Forbin, followed closely by his fellow Guadeloupean Cedric Ramasamy. Then Alexander Barret made his move up the field, hitting the lead with American Craig Warner right behind him. Behind them was a battle for third between Lucas Granger, Vitalingon, and Ramasamy, with Granger pushing up into third. Further back, David Finoli and Hervé Partouche locked horns. Barret was in firm command throughout lap 1 to Saint-François and back. Last year's champion Marc Forbin was unable to progress up the field. Frederic Roussel in trouble. He's out early. The top two riders from race 1, Lucas Granger and Hugo Fidlan in 5th and 6th position, behind 4th placed Craig Warner. Behind Barret is a battle for second spot. Chris McCluggage chasing Teddy Ponce. Barret is first to Saint-François, masterfully negotiating the long, rough conditions. Teddy Ponce in second. Behind him, a battle unfolds between two American riders, McCluggage and Warner. Granger and Fidlan fight over 5th spot, with Granger getting the advantage. The open sea conditions proved especially challenging in this part of the race, with big waves and high winds. But Fidlan was loving it, passing Granger to move up into 5th. Barret has a problem. Alexander Barret is out of the race. What a blow, as smoke billows from under his seat. With Barret out of the race, that put Teddy Ponce in the lead, and he got back first to the pit stop at Viard Beach as the rain came down and conditions worsened. McCluggage in second position after the Saint-François lap. Fidlan gets in third. Teddy Ponce was first back out for the remaining 2 laps on the Viard circuit. Following McCluggage and Granger, Fidlan and Ponama head back out onto the circuit back to back. Ponce led, with race 1 winner Lucas Granger taking second place behind him. McCluggage followed Granger in third. Pastorello was keeping the top riders in sight, but his luck ran out on lap 2, a big blow to the former Karujet champ. Meanwhile, Marc Forbin had moved up the field to 5th spot behind Vincent Caram, with Fidlan back in 7th. But this race belongs to Teddy Ponce. He completes both remaining laps comfortably in the lead, crossing the finish line as the race 2 winner. The battle between Granger and McCluggage goes down to the wire. Granger getting the better of the American. Another great result for the Guadeloupe rider. Race 2 results. Ponce with the win. Granger and McCluggage again in the top 3. Vincent Caram 4th ahead of Forbin. Fidlan makes do with 6th, with Botti 7th and Vincent Thomas 8th. That result gives Lucas Granger the lead in the overall standings, to the delight of his team and fans. Ponce moves up to 2nd ahead of McCluggage, with Fidlan 4th and Vincent Caram 5th.
Très content d'avoir gagné cette seconde étape.
I'm very happy to have won race 2. The conditions were very difficult, with a mix of big and small waves throughout the race. Now we have a big race ahead on day 3. I'm going to concentrate on that and do my best.
Voilà, ce qui est pris n'est plus à prendre.
2 days down, and the race was already beginning to take a toll on the riders. Vitalingon unable to continue his 2014 Karujet campaign. There won't be too much time to celebrate. A big day is in store for these top 3. Day 3, Race 3. This would perhaps be the toughest, most grueling of all.
Today, this race here is the hardest one because the rock down there, when I think it's Pacific and the Atlantic meet, it's like a big washing machine, and I can't even explain to you how hard it is. It's basically just mind over matter, and make sure you make it back.
144 kilometers, 2 laps from VR to Les Saintes Islands, where riders have to navigate through the infamous Canal des Saintes, where waves are not just big, they come from all sides, making it both technical and exhausting.
Alors le début de la compétition a été plus ou moins difficile, c'est vrai que
The start of the competition was very difficult for me. In the first race, I had a bad first lap, but eventually finished the race in 7th. In race 2, I was in 13th position coming back from the Saint Francois leg, but again I got it together towards the end to finish 4th. Today is the longest and most difficult race of all. There are 2 tours of the Saint Islands. We'll have to go there and then back again. It's rough out there. The most difficult part of this race will be the Canal des Saintes, which we'll have to pass 4 times.
Alors j'irai au premier tour, voir où on se place.
I'll wait and see how I'm doing after the first lap and then figure out my strategy after that.
Et c'est à ce moment-là qu'on verra s'il faut attaquer ou pas.
The final few seconds, you could hear a pin drop. And there they go. Race 3 is on. It's gonna be a long ride. Hugo Fidelin had a great start, sprinting into the lead in the first 10 minutes. Right alongside him were 2 other riders, Francois Midori and Alexander Beret. 2 French buddies who also race in the UIM-ABP Aquabike World Championship. The 3 riders were locked in battle, with Beret taking the lead 15 minutes in, ahead of Midori and Fidelin, dropping back to 3rd. But on kilometer 87, Beret had a problem, dropping back to 5th. He soon recovered. The conditions are again rough. Waves are big. Young Eric Francis gets some big air, just managing to control his ski. No such luck for Midori, however, who broke down soon after taking the lead. Bad luck for the Corsican. After Midori breaks down, it's Teddy Pons who moves up into the lead, ahead of Kevin Carlini in 2nd and Jan Ponama moving up into 3rd. Alexander Beret was back in 4th spot, but he found his momentum again and stormed back to take the lead again, bumping Teddy Pons down to 2nd. More bad luck for Jean-Bruno Pastorello. He had an ignition problem and he was out before finishing lap 1. That's 2 breakdowns for him, and with the new rules, that means his hopes for a win here are virtually over. Just before the end of lap 1, Alexander Beret goes from strength to strength, reclaiming the lead and hitting the pit stop at the front of the field. Behind him, Kevin Carlini is 2nd at the end of lap 1, followed by Teddy Pons, Fidelin 4th, and Jan Ponama 5th. Having trouble is race 1 winner Lucas Granger, just 20 minutes into the race. His team mechanics tried to get his jet ski fixed and back out there in the pit area, while his supporters waited with bated breath. But unfortunately, the race was over for Granger. First out of the pit stop is Alexander Beret. He storms away and never looks back. Adding to the spate of breakdowns is Chris McCluggage, who plummets in the general standings despite his 2 top 3 finishes in races 2 and 1. Kevin Carlini is unable to finish the race, out with engine trouble. That moves Teddy Pons into 2nd position behind Beret, the 2 French riders taking firm control of proceedings, opening a considerable gap with the rest of the field. Guadeloupe rider Vincent Caram had a steady start, back in 11th position at the end of lap 1. but he found his rhythm in lap 2, moving up the field, pushing the top 5. Meanwhile, Alexander Beret opened a 4-kilometer lead over Teddy Pons, but will his ski hold out this time? The big battle in lap 2 was between Jan Ponama, who left the pit stop at Viard Beach in 3rd position, and Ugo Fidlan in 4th, his ski barely holding together in the rough conditions. Fidlan eventually caught up with Ponama, passing the Guadeloupe rider and taking 3rd. That would determine the final standings in the race. Barret encountered no problems, riding this race out with a 4-kilometer lead over Pons. Teddy Pons gets an excellent runner-up finish, boosting him up to the top of the general standings. And Ugo Fidlan continues his consistent run with his second top 3 finish, making him one of the favorites now behind Pons. The overall standings after day 3, just 11 minutes separating the top 3 riders, Pons, Fidlan and Karam.
Ouais, je suis bien parti. Je partais avec François Médori, mon ami, depuis longtemps. On voulait se taper une belle boucle.
I had a good start. I was neck and neck with my longtime friend Francois Midori. We were leading out to the Saint Boy. I had a mechanical problem on kilometer 87, but I recovered and got back up to speed, eventually passing Teddy Pons and Kevin Carlini. After that, I just kept the momentum going, riding carefully and trying to maintain my lead. The conditions were tough, like yesterday. Lots of waves, big rollers and wind.
La partie la plus paisible, c'était celle de devant. Il y a eu un coup de vent et il y avait des gros rouleaux ici, et même les cintres étaient moins durs que devant.
Race 4, the first of 2 races on the final day. Riders would complete 4 laps and a total of 120 kilometers with a pit stop on Viard Beach after lap 2. After 3 races, Teddy Pons reigned in the provisional overall standings, but he had the likes of Ugo Fidlan and Vincent Karam to deal with, knowing that day 4 would decide the 2014 title. Professionals and amateurs started together as 100 riders roared out to be first to the all-shot. Marc Forbin and Francois Midori were the fastest out among the pros, taking the lead early. The 3 top names in the overall standings, Pons, Fidlan and Karam, were struggling to get up the field. Last year's champion Forbin shot ahead, but his lead was short-lived, Midori getting first to the all-shot ahead of Forbin and Jan Ponama. Ugo Fidlan was way back, but he was still ahead of Vincent Karam and Teddy Pons. The first lap saw a big fight between Jean-Baptiste Botti, Francois Midori, and Alexander Barret. After the all-shot boy, it was race 3 winner Alexander Barret who took the lead. Barret finished lap 1 in the lead, but the other 2 Frenchmen were right behind him. Race 2 winner Teddy Pons was nowhere to be seen, trailing back in the field outside the top 10, while Ugo Fidlan finished lap 1 in 7th position, with Vincent Karam further back. End of lap 1, McCluggage came into the beach very slow, ending yet another race with a breakdown. Barret had a problem in lap 2 and dropped back to 7th as Botti and Midori broke away from the pack. Botti leading, Midori right up there behind him in an intriguing battle between two Corsican riders. Forban and Karam in 5th and 6th respectively. Meanwhile, Barret returned to the pits to work on his stalling ski. He went back out, but the race was over for him and for young Ponama as well. Then Botti had a problem, dropping back. What a shame for him. Midori assumed sole command of the race. Behind him, Pastorello made a move up, taking the lead briefly from Midori. But then Midori regained control, finishing lap 2 in the lead, followed by Pastorello, Forban, Fidlan, and Karam. Midori was first into the pit with no major hiccups, and after refueling, he headed back out. Second into the pit stop was Pastorello, who was also quick to refuel and continue giving chase to Midori. Forban was in 3rd spot. Jean-Luc Jachy skips the pit stop, continuing with the race while the others refueled. Behind Forban, the two championship frontrunners, Karam and Fidlan. Fidlan passed Karam just before completing lap 2, getting to the pits in 4th spot. Fidlan and Karam left the beach one after the other. Karam storms out of the beach. His team knows that he needs to beat Fidlan by a good margin. Pons was far back in the field. It didn't look good for his championship chances. Then it was another setback in the pit stop where he received a time penalty for a regulation breach, costing him precious time. Behind Midori and Pastorello, Jean-Luc Jachy in 3rd. He was followed by Marc Forban in 4th and Vincent Karam in 5th, who passed Fidlan after the pit stop. The big news of the day was that the leader of the overall standings, Teddy Pons, was out of the race with a busted engine. What a blow to the Frenchman, who was gunning for his 2nd Karujet title. But it was heartbreak for him, and he would be unable to race in race 5 later in the day as well. Suddenly, Ugo Fidlan was in the driver's seat in the 2014 Karujet, with Vincent Karam also very much in the running. At the end of lap 3, Midori's dominance continues, with Pastorello right behind him, followed by Jachy in 3rd, then Karam, Forban, and Fidlan in 6th. In the 4th and final lap of race 4, positions stayed the same throughout, with Midori leading the whole way, Pastorello right on his tail, but unable to topple the Corsican rider. Midori is pleased with his result, even though he was no longer in the running for this year's championship. But he gave it his all from start to finish, and he did it. The first lap was very fast alongside Alexander Barret and Jean-Baptiste Botti. After that, they both unfortunately had problems, so then I was in the lead ahead of Jean-Bruno Pastorello. I had a little trouble at the start to the all-shot, but then rode well until the last lap. The sea was very choppy and very tough, but I'm happy to have won a race, finally. Vincent Karam moved ahead of Jachy into 3rd spot, finishing the race just ahead of Forban, who was in 4th. Karam waited nervously on the beach to see what time Ugo Fidlan would make. Ugo Fidlan finishes the race in 5th spot. He's a happy man.
The race was very, very hard because my ski didn't run well at the start. I was losing gas and I had to run the last lap on reserves, just getting in as my gas was running out. So I was lucky, and at least I was able to pass the line. That was the important thing. Apparently, I'm on top of the standings, and we'll see what happens in the last race this afternoon.
The 3rd place finish for Karam put him firmly in the running for the Karujet title if he could beat Fidlan by enough of a margin in race 5.
In the final race, I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to go all out. I have nothing to lose. I'm about 15 or 20 seconds behind Fidlan. I will just give everything I have, give 100% right till the end. And I'll put it all on the line this afternoon to win this Karujet.
Here are the overall standings going into race 5, the final race. Race 5, the final Karujet race, where the world champion for 2014 would be decided. It all comes down to this. Would it be Ugo Fidlan or Vincent Karam? Or would there be a major surprise by Alain Tarzia or Vincent Thomas? The final race was 40 minutes on a course resembling an inshore racing circuit, where speed is what counts, with relatively calm conditions, low winds, and flat waters. There was a carnival atmosphere in the air. Spectators, fans, festival goers showing up in their tens of thousands amid concerts, games, and activities. All eyes were ultimately on the deciding final race. Nerves were taut, riders tense in anticipation of the deciding race that would end one of the world's most demanding sporting odysseys. The start is given, the riders sprint out, the race is on. Karam had a bad start, his team is despondent, but anything can happen in 40 minutes. Alain Tarzia had a great start. He's right up there with the front runners. But in lap 1, last year's champion Marc Forban takes the lead, ending lap 1 in control of the race, with Francois Midori just behind him, followed by Alexander Barret and American Craig Warner 4th. Former champion Pastorello is in 5th. Ugo Fidlan is in 6th position, just ahead of Vincent Karam. In lap 2, Forban fell back into 3rd, relinquishing the lead to Midori, with Barret moving up into 2nd. Fidlan fell back to 7th, but his aim was to stay ahead of his main rivals, Karam, Tarzia, and Thomas, and he did just that. While a championship win was a very distant possibility for Alain Tarzia and Vincent Thomas, they were both still fighting for a podium place, with Thomas ahead and Tarzia chasing. In lap 3, the top 3 remained unchanged: Midori, Barret, Forban. Fidlan was in 7th, just ahead of McCluggage, Karam, Thomas, and Tarzia. The lead changed in lap 4. Barret overtook Midori and tried to open a lead. But Midori is a closed-circuit world champion, and it would not be an easy task. Craig Warner overtook Pastorello to move into third place. Pastorello had to give chase to Warner while keeping one eye behind him on another hard-riding former Karujet champ, Mark Forban. It was a parade of former champions as Pastorello and Forban were followed by 2004 champ Chris McCluggage. But all eyes were on the overall standings leader Ugo Fidland in 7th, his sights set on the 2014 Karujet title. Beret kept the lead until the end of the race, winning his second of 5 races, with Midori taking a consolation runner-up following his win earlier in the day in race 4. But all eyes were on the Karujet frontrunners, Ugo Fidland and Vincent Karam. Karam was racing desperately out there, stating beforehand that he would go all out in a no-holds-barred attack in race 5, desperate to beat his rival from Martinique. But Fidland was his usual focused, calm, collected self. His consistency through the 4 days, his mental, physical, and technical preparation, his excellent team of mechanics, all of that culminated in an exceptional final race for the charismatic young rider. He knew he didn't need to take any risks, pushing his ski just far enough to maintain his distance from Karam and his other rivals, but not so much as to try and win the final race. As for Karam, he knew it was now or never. He knew that to be in second position on the overall standings going into the final race is a rare event, and he knew he had to do everything he could. When Chris McCluggage passed Fidland in lap 6, Karam moved up just behind Fidland. There was hope for him, but Fidland was not going to let this victory slip from his hands. The minutes ticked away, and try as Karam might, the day and the event would end with the incredible triumph of Ugo Fidland. Fidland, the 2014 Karujet World Champion. Vincent Karam, Karujet runner-up. Alain Tarzia, third.
Je suis super content de ma première place. J'ai essayé de bien gérer.
I'm very happy with having won the Karujet. I did my best to negotiate the circuit today. I'd like to thank all my fellow Martinicans for their support. I dedicate this to them.
Bon, je vais savourer pleinement cette place de champion du monde, première place de la Karujet.
Now I'm going to savor my win and enjoy being Karujet World Champion. It's been 4 days of amazing racing, and I really am tired after all that racing. I really trained hard and prepared well before the event, and I'm happy that all that hard work has paid off.
On dira c'est le travail qui paie, ben là il a vraiment payé, quoi.
Je finis deuxième aujourd'hui, c'est sûr que bon, c'est quand même frustrant.
I got second place today, and I have to say it's frustrating because I trained very hard to try and win it this year. The competition is so tight now. Top 3 is a good result. Of course I would have liked to win, but Fidland was the better rider. He deserved it. I did my best to try and attack in the last race, but Fidland kept to a good, solid strategy, and it paid off for him. I'm happy with my performance, I'm happy with my machine and my team. My family and friends have supported me so well, and overall I'm happy and pleased with my results.
C'est vrai que je suis satisfait, voilà, tout s'est bien passé, donc on est content.
It was a nail-biting finish to an extraordinary event with one of the strongest and best fields of riders ever. After 4 incredible days of racing, the riders picked up their race awards. The top 8, Fidland wins a grueling event, Karam second, and Tarzia third. Vincent Thomas finishes 4th, followed by Frank Arnoux and Lionel Espinet. Teddy Pons 7th, and Mark Forban 8th. In the amateurs, the winner was William Seal of Guadeloupe, with Pierre Claret runner-up, and David Ostorero Pese third. Following the awards ceremony, it was party time, as this 4-day festival drew to a close with a carnival atmosphere and celebrations that lasted into the night. That concludes yet another Karujet destination Guadeloupe. See you next year when the world's best riders compete for the Karujet 2015 title.